I'm gonna restart and we're gonna see if that's gonna work a
So,
little bit
hello
better.
everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, let me introduce myself. I am Preeti Prasad from India. I have done BTech in Chemical Engineering and post
Good.
graduation diploma in Industrial Safety. I have a very diverse career experience of 14 years, starting as a refinery professional with Naira Energy Oil and Gas, and then as a lubrication consultant with Noria India Vastrapolsky. And currently, I am heading digital downstream at Ecolab. I am certified machinery lubrication analyst level 1 and MLT1 from ICML and pursuing this project management professional PMP from Indian Institute of Management Kashipur. And I have published 6 technical articles on different subjects related to industrial reliability. I also got featured as a industry person of the week at Empowering Farms and Equipment page. So that's a brief about me. Now, today I would like to talk with my experience on my previous role of lubrication consultant, where I used to go at the customer side and audit their entire lubrication management program, identifying the gaps between the current practices and the best practices, and bridging them with the help of some actions, recommendations, and suggestions. Hence, I kept the title Connecting the Dots to Maintenance Best Practices. So, before diving into very deep technical, I like to touch upon very basic, like what is maintenance? So, by definition, maintenance means it's simply a process of keeping something in a good condition. Like we take care of our health, our car, and society, home. These are the day to day maintenance. But now, when it's come to the industrial maintenance, it's all about the machines and equipments, how they are running, efficiency, and are they serving their purpose to their best. It is an essential for a smooth operation to a long term sustainability. It helps to improve the performance, increase the lifespan of the equipment, reduce the costly downtime, and help in achieving the goals related to productivity. So a well structured maintenance plan help uh, in achieving the maximized ROI and achieving the operational excellence. So hence maintenance become a very crucial aspect for any industries. So let us learn that what type of maintenance strategies being opted by our industry. The first one is breakdown maintenance, and it is the oldest one, I'll say. And it's also known as the reactive maintenance and corrective maintenance, run to failure maintenance. Basically, it's an emergency short-term approach where something has already happened. Your equipment has already failed and stopped working. Now the team will jump to find, fix it and put the system back into the running conditions. So around 64% of the manufacturing facilities still practices this strategy. So I'll not say it's right or wrong. It's all depend on the suitability of this strategy. When it is for the standby equipments, non-critical equipment, the equipments having the not significantly impacting the production, it's good. Okay, but if it is for the entire management organization, this is the one strategy being opted. Then it is going to impact you. It's going to huge downtime, and it gives an environment of unpredictability and uncertainty. When the things will get resolved, also leads to some safety hazards like that. So I personally has experienced this because my father is in electrical maintenance, and while growing up I have seen that no matters at what is the odd hours or whether it's function at home, if something has happened at the site, transformers had failed, he will run to the plant. And I and we were also in a situation like when the water will come, when electricity will come. It gives an unpredictable environment, and the entire team and management is like on the fire pan. So to avoid this type of scenarios, both in the plant and outside, the industries had stepped up and improved and adopted a level up maintenance. I'll say it's a preventive maintenance, which is also known as the planned maintenance. So in this type of maintenance, it is a very scheduled approach where each of your equipment has been into the PM activities where the equipment your will open up, the tank cleaning will be done, the oil change will be done, your consumable parts will be replaced or replacing some parts on a certain time period. So it is basically a scheduled regular interval thing, right? So around 50 to 80% of the manufacturing facility still practices this strategy. So by adopting these practices, the potential issues are well known and addressed before it escalated into a major breakdown. Now it's give a scenario of predictability, or we know the things before it happens. But regardless, knowing the condition of your equipment, current condition, it's basically depends on the some historical data or guesswork. Sometimes it goes very unnecessary. Good parts are replaced before the time period, and somewhere it depends on the person to person experience on that part. Guesswork is there. So now to avoid this type of scenario, the industries has evolved more to the condition based maintenance, which is a combination of, I'll say, predictive and proactive maintenance, where we create a language with the machine that what is happening in the system, your machine, on a real time basis. You know, in the preventive, when we were using our sensory for inspection like touch, feel, and sound, now that has been converted into the data, that how much is the raise of temperature, or how the limits are deviating as per the permissible limits. So cloud-based technologies are used in the condition-based maintenance. So around 20 to 30% of manufacturing facilities started adopting this condition-based maintenance, and which is definitely impacting, resulting into reduction of the downtime, extent of the equipment life, and a reduction in the spare part inventory. But it also requires a huge investment, and skilled persons are required, technologies are required, and experience is required for this condition based maintenance. So this is how the industries are evolving from an emergency short term to a scheduled approach to the proactive approach. What is the impact of maintenance that we have learned? As per some data, preventive maintenance can reduce downtime by 23% and increase proactive productivity by 20% of manufacturing firms. Reactive maintenance tends to be almost twice the cost of planned corrective maintenance. And the third one, a reduction in maintenance cost by 10% results to a 40% increase in the sale. And this I have learned while taking the Noria training, that how you can reduce the 10% of the maintenance cost, which is directly going to result in the 40% increase in the sale. Let's learn about this particularly data. So what is needed? The best practices, the need for maintenance and lubrication reliability. So in a typical maintenance budget, the maximum portion or allocation is given to the replacement part and the maintenance level. And the lubricants, which include the entire practices, selection, the handling, and the entire management thing, is only 3%. But the paradox of the situation is that 3% leads to 43% of any equipment failure is contributed because of some inadequate practices, resource selection, training, planning, misalignment, incorrect assemblies, which is addressable. And the major factor which is contributor for the cost of downtime are addressable. How? So what is needed? It is the conversion of your regular practices to the best practices. Right? When you convert the normal practices, which is for historical practices, and identify that what is to be modified in that to make it as best practices, you can address as best practices. So I would like to explain this with the help of a very good case study. Right? So in 2015, me along with my consultants team visited one of the site in Sri Lanka and did the entire life cycle management audit, starting from the lubricant selection, handling and application, reception and storage, contamination control, lubricant analysis, and disposal, based on all the three levels of what is the practices being opted, what is the thought for the management KPIs, and what are the management is focusing on this lubrication management part. Right. So we, after the audit, we have submitted a very enriched report having all the recommendations, best practices, what is to be continued, where to be, suggestions like that. Basically, all the low hanging fruits. So out of that, I'll highlight just four. The first thing the management has done to improve is the color code system. They have implemented the color code system. Now the entire lubricant is well listed, right, with some color code with the shapes, and starting from the lubricant selected to the oil container till the machine with where it is going to put, right, all are in a same color. So by implementing this color code system, they have converted a regular practice of oil filling to a best practices and resolved a very big issue, prolonged issue of their cross contamination. Second, earlier the entire the machines, the bigger the machines, they thought that these are the critical. Now they have identified what are the critical machines and they modified it for a strong visual inspection, a strong sampling. So regular practice of sampling and visual inspection has been modified by installing some condition monitoring pod. You can see here, they can see the quality, what is that, wear debris is there or not. The sampling location is well defined now. And the by the color of this oil, they can see that what's happening inside the machine. So they have again converted one visual inspection regular practice to best practices. The third is that they converted a myth of kind of the new oil is the clean oil, and we simply put into the machine. Now what they did, before putting the oil into the machine, they started to filtering it out, and they have kept a very dedicated filter card for this. And also now the condition monitoring is so empowered that help in the reduction of the oil um, oil disposal, and they help they this enable the team for the lube reconditioning. Now the fourth point is that they developed an in-house lab. So earlier the practice was when they used to send this lab analysis report to some external lab, and the turnaround was around a week or 3 to 4 working hours. And what this has not given a knowledge to our ground field people or the management team. It was basically piling up the reports in a folder. But when after this audit they have understood the condition monitoring importance of that, they developed a in-house lab with some basic tests like particle quantum, moisture, viscosity, tan, and all. So I'll just tell you one thing: the seriousness of implementing this was so huge that they used to import the lint-free clothes from India to Sri Lanka. So by following that, they have developed the entire world-class lube room where each lubricant is having set up with the breathers and epoxy floor of the lube room. It is well covered. So all the world-class standard. And by doing this, they have achieved the Reliability Excellence Award. This they published it as a case story and implemented on all over the six of their plants. And I have also presented this case study in Reliable Plant Conference in 2018. So this was a huge success for the team, and they achieved their many tangible benefits and intangible benefits. So basically, they have transformed the maintenance culture from a reactive to a proactive, time-based maintenance to the condition-based maintenance. This is the journey of evaluation, maintenance evaluation. Okay. So, do you think that it was an easy thing for any maintenance team to, change the practices or change the mindset? I believe that changing the mindset is the most difficult task, right? When they approached, or any maintenance team approached to their senior management, that we have done an external audit and these are the recommendations. Most of the time, because I have done this for more than 15 industries, and I'll say that management will say that you have already spent money on the audits, right? Now it is very expensive, so they that carry forward for the next year, so it's very hard to implement. That is the condition for senior management. Middle management will say that if we train, and what if they leave, we don't have time to for doing this preventive maintenance, that thing. So that is the statement from the middle management. And the ground people, they will say that, Are, we are following these practices from a number of days. Nothing has happened because of the lubricant. So what will happen? Like, they don't understand the lubrication impacting the machine. So I have covered all this type of ground reality check for the maintenance team in the article. Where is the gap, knowledge or mindset? It's a very interesting, you must read it. I have put this link here. So this is the struggle of changing the mindset and converting a regular practices to the maintenance practices, convincing the management team for that. So it requires a lot of efforts, I must say. So what are the basic, key points or crucial which these practices which can help you achieving the operational excellence? The first one is derive ROI. By deriving the return on investment, it is a very key factor. The first one, I'll say, identify the scope and measure the impact. Use the Pareto principle, that what are 20% critical equipment which are going to impact hugely on the 80% of the your entire efficiency and overall goals. Right? Implement TPM, total productive maintenance, in which it gives a holistic approach of the inspection, the schedule audit, evolve the best practices, and it has 6 to 8 pillars, like planned maintenance, quality maintenance, the training, safety, health, and environment. 5S things are involved in the TPM, so you can implement this TPM. Then optimize your assets. When you know that these are our critical assets, give a extra care to that. Optimize that with the modification of that critical equipment. You don't go thoroughly by the OEM given equipment. You can modify it as per the best practices. Introduce digital. See, we are in a competitive world where everything needs to be on fingertips, and we need the data for enabling the decision what to be taken. So nowadays there are so many IoT devices, monitoring sensors are available in the market. We can introduce the digital in the equipments, and that is going to help you on a longer term. Educate. So it is very important that empowers uh, your team to take the decision and troubleshoot the equipment. So in first is that you go for the slide based training, then you make some train with the help of videos, and nowadays role play trainings are also coming, where and say hands-on training where real scenarios are created, and then you educate that them. So this will thing remain with your team for a very longer term, and it helps to develop the skills of the team. And third VUI. VUI means the external auditors. Maybe we are using this, practices, but we are not apparent knowing that what's happening. So third eye view is a very strong thing, having a external audits, or instead go for a cross collaboration like engineering operations and the other team members, which help you to uncover for the improvements which are might not be apparent from within, right? Then strategize your awareness. You must have seen that in the shop floor or any plant, there are so many posters for the safeties, right? Likewise, we can also see the importance of the new practices or the best practices. Create more awareness on that part. Strategize is by keeping a reward, reward, reward and recognition thing in their management. Display achievement, even a small achievement like uh, around one barrel is saved. Display it. The more you will spread the achievement, your team will get motivated, and they will empowered to do more on that part. So that awareness need to be strategized. So finally, I would like to conclude the session with a thought that from maintenance best practices to sustainable cultural transformation. So we have seen that maintenance is a part of keeping something in a everything good operational excellence and all. But maintenance can be a foundation of a cultural that derives the sustainability, you know, reduce environmental impact and promote long-term health of our planet. Whatever the practices we have discussed, each of the practices are complement to other and creating a robust framework for achieving superior performance and operational success. So what to be needed? It is a very chain way. First, you know the importance, the practices, adopt it, internalize them into the habit. Once it is, habituated, convert the habit into a system for operational excellence and all. That system will result into cultivating a culture of sustainability, right? That all going to impact on our motherhood. So everything is linked and channeled, right? So So that's the end from my end. Thank you, LRVS, for having me again and being a very patient listener to all my audience, interacting with them. So I'm open to question now. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Preeti. I'm gonna bring you back on the stage now. And I think we have like 2 minutes for questions. So, do we have? I did not see any questions besides the fact that people want to get the presentations. Your slides are really good. So, obviously, I could understand that for sure. Um, I don't see any questions right now, but do you have anything that you wanted to say to the audience in addition to like your video?
No, no, that was, I was having another link, LinkedIn. So that is the echo was coming and double
Yes.
sign coming. So anyway, so what I want to say that, this lubrication experience was with me, and I really enjoyed while auditing the sites, and that gave me a very holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
How that give a very holistic approach for looking the things on a very different perspective. So always, the third eye view, which I was talking about, the cross collaboration, the regular audits, that helps to identify the areas of improvement where even the maintenance team can't see it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is my with life experience takeaways
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
Definitely. I just have Ahmed asking, how long does the entire process take? Because it seems like it's a lot.
For the auditing one.
Yes.
Yes. So See, when I was in the Norway, it was a phased process. When I was going for the benchmarking the assessment, it usually take 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
2 days for the audits. The process is very huge, from the selection to the
Hmm.
contamination, the field practices, to the disposals. Those 1.5 2 days for the audits. One day take to create gather all the data into the formation of reports, and then delivering to the customer, and training them team. So that's the on-site work. But after that also, it looks a very very hands-on
Hmm.
support for the customer, to how you are going to implement this. So that is also a very struggling part, when you give
Yes.
the suggestions and then follow up for following implement those.
Yes, that's a, and I guess it also depends on the size of the plants, because that
Right.
would vary in terms of the amount of equipment and the audits and the all of the red tape that is involved as well. So
Right.
to get those processes above. But thank you so much, Pretty, for your time today and for your patience and
Yeah.
for doing that recording for us and having that ready. You are a
Yes.
star. Definitely a star.
You
Thank
make
you
me
so
start
much.
singing. Thank you.
And thank you all so much for the audience for staying with us. We're gonna have a little bit of a 5 minute break before we have the panel session come in. So that panel session is gonna be very interesting. So look out for it.
Sure.
And we will be seeing you all in 5 minutes or so. All
Yeah.
right. Bye.
Thank you.